What is going on, everybody? We got the NBA back. I couldn't be more excited. I wish we didn't just have a two-game slate to talk about today, but we do. It is a one we have to try and get way different. I know on two-game slates we have to anyway, but we've got to try and win $1 million and beat billions of people, and everybody's playing. It's going to be a blast. I'm just so excited to have the sport back, but I'm trying to figure out ways to, to get a little different on this slate. So Sheets, let's talk through it. We're gonna figure out a way to be different. But first of all, how do you feel about NBA being back and with this crazy DFS schedule we got?
The DFS schedule is awesome, but it was aside from today, obviously. But the couple of interesting things I think to keep in mind. Number one is, prepare to be tilted with respect to minutes, with respect to sitting out, with respect to whatever, because I'm not exactly sure what the rules are. But I'm pretty sure that all the beat writers are not going to have full access to the same information that they did previously. I don't know if there's any rules of when they have to release any information or anything like that. But I definitely feel as though the information flow is going to be lacking, or at least much less full. Let's put it that way than it used to be. So. On the one hand, it rewards people that really, really do their homework. But number two, it can be, I think it will be somewhat tilting. So just, keep that in mind going in. One other thing that's kind of fun, I just got an email about this, just to give you guys an update. So you guys know, I used to coach at AAU basketball, and the organization sent me a thing saying that they're giving me 12 tickets. So I think for this coming Saturday, they're having virtual fans, and they're populating the feed of the stadium with Zoom things of actual fans there and rooting and high-fiving and stuff like that. It's a whole virtual thing. So I think I'm gonna have 8 of my players are gonna be within the thousands of people that are gonna be they're gonna try to make it interesting.
That's pretty cool, man. I actually think it looks pretty good, and I watched some of the scrimmages and all this stuff, and I actually think it looks pretty good. It looks better than baseball does, although I actually think, and I know this is for a different thing, but I think it's going to look a lot better. I actually think it looks almost like a video game. People are going to actually think that in some ways it looks clearer.
And you know what? I mocked it. But you know what? The thing with the baseball, with the virtual fans, and the noise is growing on me a little bit.
I'm into it. I think that you need it. I've watched the games where they didn't do it, and it just doesn't work, man. It's too eerie. I think you have to do it. So let's pull it up.
All right. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be the ugly American on this one. Okay. I was not the ugly American on the baseball one, but I'm gonna be the ugly American on this one. I'm really not going crazy tonight. I'm just not. I am playing one lineup on DraftKings in the Millie. I have no idea what it's going to be. I'm going to put something in, obviously, just in case. But there's just way too much unknown and way too much variance and way too much God knows what for a slate like this. Not to mention it's a 2-game slate. And the thing that I would have to do to really be different enough. Well, let's talk about that. All right. So you want to win $1 million? Here's how you win $1 million. You win $1 million either by leaving 3,000 on the table, okay, or something like that. Number two, just really going nuts with 2 or 3 bench players and just hoping they get in and just go crazy. And that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Every other combination is going to be taken multiple fold. But let's just go. Let's just get back.
You hit on something huge though when you started talking. You said that we don't really know what's going to happen with what's happening. And I totally agree with that. About players' minutes, I don't think we're going to have an idea. I mean, the truth is, these teams are playing for – this is not even seeding. It's sort of just to get together kind of a thing. They don't have anything to play for except for New Orleans, really.
Well, that's the thing we can start talking about. We have to start talking about motivation for these games, right?
Yeah. So one thing you can immediately do is put LeBron at, look, you can have some ownership of him tonight, but I would put him as the – way below the field, is going to be way over the field, on him. He's not playing for anything. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to win any games. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
All right, so let's have some fun. So let's go game by game. So let's look at Utah New Orleans first. And freaking Meansy took my favorite play. Only like 4 plays total you could play in the game. But so I was really not looking forward to this. The first guy, honestly, when the slate came out, that I was putting in my lineup was Jordan Clarkson. He was going to be the first guy I put in, and I'm certainly not going to not put him in now. He's already been shooting happy. I think that what's his name is out for Bojan Bogdanovic is out forever now or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's more shots for him. And from what I read, the Jazz are playing a pretty interesting rotation, but very standard type rotation. And maybe Clarkson gets enough minutes where he shoots the ball a lot. And here's another angle, if you guys want an angle on this. I have heard that the defenses have not exactly been very aggressively scrimmaged and not aggressively taught or whatever it is. And so if guys aren't closing out well and the defense haven't tightened up, some of these like raw scorers and shooters, give them an extra like half an inch or a half a second of people closing out on them. I think they can really exploit that. So Jordan Clarkson I like, but you were talking about this just before we came off online. You said, well, what about, somebody that maybe like Gobert is just not completely recovered from coronavirus or whatever it is? You could play the angle. In other words, what I'm doing, like for example, I'll just take Mitchell and Gobert and just play zero. You know what I mean? Just hope that, that the virus took something out of them. They're not ready to play. And even if they are ready, that the team might be just a little more cautious with them about rolling them out in a game like this, playing minutes in a regular season game, coming back from the virus or whatever it is. So I'm throwing them out. So if I'm going to throw them out, who do I want to play? I'll play Conley, and I'll play Clarkson. And those would be the main guys that I would try to highlight from Utah. And again, you want to be different? Hey, one way to be different is throw out Mitchell and Gobert, no?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think fading Gobert, like I understand that logically he would make sense as like if you were playing a cash game play on this slate, he would probably be one of the first guys you put in at this price. I think you avoid it. You play the skeptical angle, not just about the COVID part, but like what do we really need him for?
Okay.
Also, he's had some trouble up and down games in the past. Like we've played him a lot against Atlanta, and he's had mixed results in those types of games. Where some games he's had the big games where you'd expect in an up-tempo game. Other times he's really been sort of like negated a little bit. So I kind of like the idea. I'm going to play 20% Tony Bradley. I'm going to just I'm trying to win all this money, and I'm going to play all these lineups. That's what you have to do. You got to play 20% Tony Bradley. You also got to probably play, because of the unknown situation without Bogdanovic, I think Clarkson is the natural guy everyone will flock to. But let's not forget about these other guys, because it could open up more minutes for Moutier also. Even though we have Conley back, it's weird. I think Conley actually is going to be low. I'm going to take the ownership a little bit higher on Conley because he's going to be lower owned, and maybe he gets a little bit more playmaking, especially because he's had some time to sort of get back to being healthy. So I think that maybe he could get an uptick here. Obviously, everyone's going to play Mitchell, and that makes sense. But I want to try and get, Moutier, who's probably going to be 10% owned. I'll have 15 or 20. Niang, who will probably be 1% owned. I'll have 10%. Tony Bradley, I'll have 20%. I'll leave money on the table in spots. I'll play speculative angles like this. I'll have Joe Ingles double the field, probably.
Sure.
I'll probably have Jordan Clarkson above the field, even though it's going to be close to the field. But the guys I'll be lower on would be Gobert in this game, just because he's carrying the most ownership. And look, I'm trying to play an angle, and that's what I have to do.
One thing you could do also, so again, this one side I'm looking at has New Orleans guys really just not rating well projection wise, so you could play them. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you have to do. So let's talk about the Zion Williamson.
You just brought up another point that we should probably touch on real quick. Point per dollar and all that means nothing in this, especially if we're going to leave money on the table.
Right.
So they're not projecting well from a points per dollar standpoint, but they're not projected to have low fantasy total output.
Right.
Right.
So what's the deal with Zion? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Or nobody has an idea?
Word is he's going to play as of right now, and I've got him in a good portion of my lineups because I love the speculation on it. You could potentially be getting the guy who could literally, and this sounds like an extreme number, but who might have the biggest fantasy night or one of the two biggest fantasy nights on the board at a cheaper price, and to not play him I'm just going to plan on playing him because other people aren't right now.
Do they need to win?
Yeah, desperately.
Okay.
They are the most need to win of any team. Them and the Blazers are the two teams. We'll have some fun, by the way. I could just preview the sheets. Is there any question that Damian Lillard is like not going to be in almost all of our lineups from going forward? Do you know how desperately that guy's going to try and make that team get in the playoffs now that they got Nurkic back and all that?
Yeah, I know that Nurkic is going to be in my lineup.
We just know Lillard, though. We know what he does. That's what, he's
Yeah.
going to take over at this time of the year. Anyway, so the New Orleans side, like you have a bunch of guys who aren't going to be that high owned because of what you're saying. So just get overweight on every one of them. It sounds
so one of my angles, as I said, is the teams are slow to get back defensively. Now, not get back, but to close out or whatever. So if that's the case, if I want a shooter, maybe I'll try JJ Redick or something like that at 3,600. Maybe he'll get hot. Maybe he'll get 25 minutes, 26 minutes or something like that. And so he's a guy I would go to. Lonzo is always worth playing. But I mean, again, what are you going to do here? I don't know. Can you play Zion Williamson? It's 70% ownership.
His ownership right now is projected to be 15%.
Really?
Yeah, because his minutes projection is lower.
Oh, because they wasn't sure what he was going to do. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. Look, we'll hear before, and I'm sure it won't end up as low as it is now. But why would we not, want to go there at, even if it was reasonable ownership? But even still, like, if it ends at like 20%, are you kidding me? I mean, that's like a lock. Like, I don't know. Not a lock, but it's close to it because I just want to take the lower ownership. But all these guys have it. You mentioned Redick. I love that call, especially with making a playoff push. You'd expect him to be on the court a little bit more. I think we can bump those minutes projection up to around 26 or 28. And that immediately makes him one of the best values on the slate. What's that?
Yeah.
It's actually like the more you think about it, Redick, Derek Favors to match up with either Gobert, or even if Gobert's not on the court, Bradley will be on the court probably. So that means Favors it probably would have to match up more likely with or Jackson Hayes than Melly because he doesn't match up as well with that much size. And Utah doesn't play like a traditional four. So I'm a little worried about Melly's minutes maybe going to Jackson Hayes. But having said that, I will take a shot on both of them.
Sure.
Mostly I just want to be overweight on Favors. Even though I don't think he's going to get more minutes. I think they'll play him and Zion together some. I don't see them putting Zion up against Gobert. So that's the way I would lean. Obviously, again, like I said, just be ahead of the field on every player in this side of the game. Be underweight on Gobert in the other side, and then we'll get to the guys I'm underweight on in the last game because I'm going to be way underweight on the second game.
So let's talk about that for a second. So
Utuan Moore is another one you want to take a miracle chance at. There's just enough volatility where you could take Josh Hart. We didn't talk about, by the way. He's like a guy you should be playing like if you were playing cash on this slate, in my opinion. He's going to get plenty of minutes, and he'll lose some to Redick maybe, but I like Josh Hart a lot too.
That's interesting. Okay. All right. So Clippers, tell me about this game. You just don't think they're gonna care? You don't think they're gonna be Kawhi and Paul George and AD and LeBron? They're just gonna sit on the bench and just kind of whatever.
I think LeBron is a narrative-driven guy somewhat, but I don't think there's any basketball thing that would make me want to play him tonight at 10.7. My overall take on the Lakers rest of the season is they just don't need to do anything. In fact, it'd be dangerous for them to be irresponsible. Seeding means nothing. Nothing matters. You could say statement and all this stuff. I just think they're going to be trying to play themselves into being ready to go in 8 games, basically. I don't see them trying to play their best basketball now. I don't even see why they would. Like, you just try and gear up and get ready for the next portion. So it's going to make me lean more towards getting away from LeBron, especially. Probably still being overweight on Davis because I think he can destroy this front line. He's already done it and it's too easy for him. Okay. So I think Davis is the better play above he and LeBron. And I think he's going to have significantly lower ownership. Could LeBron come out and actually hurt me? I'm just going to have like 25% LeBron in case. But he's going to be like 70% owned by the time this is done, I promise you.
So my favorite play in this game, and it goes along what I was saying about Jordan Clarkson and JJ Redick and just call it a theme, call whatever it is if guys aren't closing out aggressively enough now, they have to catch up a little bit to try to find some spot shooters. I'm going to play Danny Green. I think that his minutes are much safer with who's out now? Avery Bradley, right?
Avery Bradley.
So, I mean, I think that especially in a game like this where, whatever could happen, it's not that big of a deal. They're not going to make it a point to just close out on Danny Green. You know what I mean? I think you just sit there and just bomb some threes and maybe makes 5 threes at 3,500. You know what I mean? You're definitely going to want it. So he's probably my favorite play. If I had to, I'm probably going to be owned. Probably. I mean, everybody's going to be owned, but Danny Green is my favorite play. And I think I agree with you. I would rather have Davis than LeBron. And those are my favorites. But on the LA side, on the Clipper side, I couldn't really. The only thing I did hear a lot of beaking out of Paul George that he was really ready to play, really looking forward to playing. He's fully healthy and all this stuff. I think he's probably my favorite guy to play on the Clippers would be Paul George.
Yeah. He's going to be the most popular player on the slate probably for good reason.
Will?
No problem with him. He's too cheap. It's hard for him not to do damage or whatever at that price. I would actually probably play him straight up over Kawhi in this matchup at the same price.
Just for the motivation from Kawhi just not being there?
I just don't see – I don't really know what this is for anybody. This is a get back and feel your way out game for them.
Right.
This is a desperation mode for New Orleans. That's the only team that has to win on this slate. So – and it's oddly the lowest owned team. So so maybe even playing those speculative guys on New Orleans is something we shouldn't do as much and just go really heavy on the Redicks and the Favors, the guys we know will be out there. But anyway, going to this game, I like Paul George the most of anybody on the Clippers. I think Patrick Beverley is going to be low owned because he's still officially questionable. So I'm into playing Patrick Beverley a ton. I don't like this spot though. I got one for you. No, but overall in this game, I don't like the spot for anybody. I don't see the teams extending anyone minutes. I think all the minutes projections are inaccurate.
They're just made up.
I mean, yeah, and we don't know how it's going to go. I'll get into the Lakers in a minute, but let me go through this because I think it's really important to try and if you're going to play out a possible scenario where all the minutes are sort of going to be spread out and all that stuff, play the guys who you know are going to get some and might have some upside on that. Zubac is one of those ultimate guys. Should be way ahead of the field on Zubac.
Oh, okay.
Should be way beneath the field on Kawhi. I will have zero. I think I have Kawhi at 10% or something, again, just in case, and probably only those will be with LeBron and somebody else really weird. But I think Joakim Noah is the other one who you might get 20 minutes out of, but probably can do as much per minute. You know what I mean? So you play both those guys, Zubac, and you play one of those guys, Zubac or Noah. You can speculate with all these other guys like JaMychal Green, Landry Shamet, because we don't know entirely how it's going to play out, especially with Patrick Beverley being questionable. Reggie Jackson would then become a great play, still is a good play anyway. But I'm sort of rotating those guys, trying to get over the field. Nobody's going to play Shamet, so it won't be hard to get over the field. And I'll be underweight on JaMychal Green, and I'll take the other route and try and go for more Zubac, Noah, who are going to have ownership, but I just don't think I'm going to go with JaMychal Green at even higher ownership as much. So he's the one I'm sort of down on. I'm down on Kawhi. I'm down on pretty much those guys. And then Marcus Morris, I think you could see him have a really big game here. He's going to be pretty popular, but I probably will just go with the field. I'd like to get beneath him, but I'm not going to. And then the Lakers, I mentioned, way behind the field on LeBron, ahead of the field on Davis, ahead of the field on Kuzma, ahead of the field on Danny Green and Caruso. And basically almost no Dwight Howard, more interested in JaVale McGee here. And Markieff Morris is another one you can speculate on. But avoiding the very highest owned players in the slate, I guess, is sort of my overall strategy by just avoiding LeBron, Kawhi, building out all those expensive what's it called, 15, 25 to 25%ers from New Orleans, and then fill them in with jam in one of these really wild off the board plays, or maybe even two in some cases in the long shot tournament. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you hit on somebody that again fits my narrative, my open threes narrative. If Landry Shamet gets hot, I mean, we've seen it happen. He can get hot. So again, for trying to beat 700 billion people in a 2-game slate, try him. Leave 5,000 on the table. Whatever. It's possible. Again, it's possible that they run out LeBron, AD, and Kawhi just to make a showing to the fans that are watching. You know what I mean? and then have them sit. I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, nobody cares about the game. They just happen to be back playing. You know?
I think they're going to try and play and get back into their rhythm and try and get the rotations down and all that stuff. But I think you're going to see. I just think the best strategy is to just fade these superstar guys who really there's no real like. I just don't see them going out there in this game. I try to let narrative drive a lot of my NBA stuff, and I just can't. I have a very strong take on this, and look, even if it blows up in my face, I'm still going to approach the entire rest of the regular season or whatever you want to call it, just like this. I'm going to absolutely find the spots and overload on the teams or the spots where it does matter, and then just completely speculate on these rotation players on these teams that don't matter. That doesn't.
Yeah, but you know the good thing if you're going to fade Kawhi and LeBron,
yeah.
I mean, you're leaving 3,000 on the table, right?
Well, first of all, I think that those guys could both be outscored by other guys. Like Anthony Davis would be the obvious one you choose to outscore him. But what about Drew Holiday or Zion or a combination of Ingram, Zion? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my different money on the table. Some I have 500, some I have 13, 31, 8, 2,000, 1,200, 700, 1,100. 2,400, 2,200, 2,500. Like I am trying to get weird with it.
Why not?
We have to. This is what you had. Like, if you want to win a tournament with that many people, now in my $222 buy-ins and my 1,555, I'll probably just look for one or two little pivots and still try and build out like a middling guys in the teens, the 20 ownership because I only have to beat a couple hundred people. What are you looking at?
I really hope that Jonathan Isaac is back in place tomorrow.
You hope that he's back in tomorrow?
Yeah.
I love Jonathan Isaac. All right, man, that was fun. I went through some of the things overall. Again, fading LeBron and not fading, just having much less LeBron and much less Kawhi than the field is going to. So that's my strategy.
All right. Well, welcome back NBA. And tomorrow we're going to have a full. It's a full day. We're going to do a full major MLB slate review and a full NBA slate review. We got to get it done before the games start.
Yeah, we'll figure it out after the show. I don't know if we'll give you a release time yet, but we'll figure that one out.
No, but we'll get you in plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Hey, this was good. We're going to get out of here for Sheets. I'm BobbyFi saying good luck out there, and thank God we have the NBA back.